If you're like most people, you've asked yourself the what-if questions from time to time. Take, for example, the sports world. What if you could hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball? Then you could hit home runs for the Houston Astros. Or what if you could throw a football 60 yards? You could play quarterback for the New England Patriots. And what if you had no problem catching a little rubber disc hurled at you at insanely high speeds? Well, then you could be a goalie for the Pittsburgh Penguins. These guys must have a death wish. The pucks fly at them at 100 miles an hour. Sometimes there are as many as 30 of them in a 60-minute game. And they can hit the goalie anywhere, in the arms, the legs, the stomach, the head. Goalies actually let this happen to them on purpose. Why? Well, because their job is to prevent the puck from entering the net at all costs. They are real warriors, and like the warriors of old, they make sure they are prepared for battle. Have you seen all the padding a goalie wears? It starts with thick leg pads that extend from the top of the thighs to the skates, and then underneath the jersey is an upper body armor that protects the arms and the chest and the neck. They wear a full helmet made of Kevlar, the same stuff they use to make bulletproof vests. And then they have these heavy protective gloves on their hands and a hockey stick they use to deflect incoming missiles, pucks. Okay, so maybe being a goalie is not on your what-if list, but you have to appreciate the way they prepare for the relentless attack they know is coming. In the same way, as Christians, we face a relentless attack from the one who wants to strip away our faith and steal our soul. But God offers a promise that protects us and provides peace, even in the darkest hour. It might interest you to know that the first power play happened not on Wall Street, nor in the halls of Congress, not even on a battlefield, but in a garden. The first promise of prestige was whispered with a hiss, a wink, and a snakish grin by a certain fallen angel. The Bible provides us with the identity of this very real and present foe of our faith. He comes by many names: the tempter, the enemy, the evil one, the prince of demons, the father of lies, and the deceiver. But one name for him stands out: the devil. In the Greek language, the word for devil is diabolos, which shares a root with a verb that means to split. The devil is a splitter, a divider, a wedge driver, and he's evidently been doing it since the time of creation. As we read in Genesis 1:31, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. In the beginning, everything was good. Every drop of water, tree, animal, and by extension, every angel. And yet sometime between the events described in Genesis 1 and 3, an angel led a coup against God and was cast from heaven. The prophet Ezekiel tells us a bit about the devil in those early days. He writes, "You are the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You were blameless in all your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you." Well, who can this be but Satan? He was in Eden, anointed as a guardian angel, dwelt upon God's holy mountain, and he was blameless until he rebelled. But this begs the question as to why he rebelled. Why would he choose to go against the one who had created him? Well, Ezekiel provides the clue. He writes, "Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. I made a spectacle of you before kings. Satan became proud. He wanted to write his own story in which he was the hero and God was an afterthought. And the Bible tells us he admitted as such. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High. Satan was not content to worship. He had to be worshiped. And he wanted to be worshiped by the crowning jewel of God's creation, Adam and Eve. Well, the Bible tells us that he seized his chance one day. Satan knew full well that God commanded Adam and Eve not to eat from one tree in the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Every other tree and plant was fair game, but not this one tree. As the devil stood there in the shadows spying on Eve, it came to him just what to offer her. It wasn't the false promise of pleasure or health or prosperity. It was, just listen to his words and look for his lure. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? You will not certainly die if you eat it, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. Satan pulled back the curtain to the throne room and invited Eve to take a seat, to put on the crown, to see how it feels to have power, see how it feels to be in control. And Eve swallowed the hook, and Adam after her. The temptation to be like God eclipsed their view of God, and the crunch of forbidden fruit echoed in the kingdom. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve sinned. They relied on a tree to give what only God could give, life. And when they sinned, innocence caught the last flight out of town, literally out of the garden. And no longer did Adam and Eve walk with God. Now they feared his voice and they avoided his presence. And unknown emotions like shame and guilt attacked them like a swarm of killer bees. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the snake. The snake was nowhere to be found. Relationships became complex. As fast as you could bite an apple, the earth was cursed against its caretakers. Adam and Eve hurried away from God, and God set the timer on their physical bodies. Satan, old Diabolos himself, split Adam and Eve from God. And he would like to separate us from God as well. He wants to take unbelievers to hell and make life hell for believers. According to the Bible, that is why there is a war a-raging. Paul tells us about it in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. He writes, our fight is not against people on earth, but against the rulers and authorities and powers of this world's darkness, against the spiritual powers of evil in the heavenly world. Satan has been cast out of heaven, but he is not yet out of our lives. Got happiness? Well, Satan wants to steal it. Discover joy? He'll try to kill it. Love your spouse? Satan would love to destroy your marriage. He is the enemy of your destiny, and he longs to be the destroyer of your soul. For this reason, we must equip ourselves with the weapons of warfare that have the divine power to demolish strongholds. Well, how do we do this? Well, Paul provides the answer as well. He writes, put on God's full armor with the belt of truth tied around your waist and the protection of right living on your chest. On your feet wear the good news of peace to help you stand strong. And also use the shield of faith with which you can stop all the burning arrows of the evil one. Paul depicts a Roman soldier equipping himself for battle. The Roman soldier knew better than to saunter onto the battlefield wearing nothing but shorts and sandals. He took care to prepare. His weapon was as sharp as his skills, and he was ready to use both. We must likewise keep our divine weapons of warfare sharp, the weapons of prayer and worship and Scripture. We must pray because we cannot do battle with Satan on our own. He is a roaring lion. He is a fallen angel. He is an experienced fighter. But there is wonderful news for the Christian. Christ reigns as our protector and provider, and we are more than conquerors through him. We must worship so that we can do what Satan himself was not prepared to do, and that is place God on the throne. As the psalmist wrote, "Come, let us bow down and worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for He is our God, and we are the people of His pasture." We then pick up the sword of Scripture. We respond to Satan by proclaiming the truth. He will not linger long where God is praised and prayers are offered. And finally, and this is huge, we must remember that the devil is a defeated foe. Were Satan to read the Bible, he would be utterly discouraged. Reference after reference makes it clear that his days are numbered. One of these is found in Colossians chapter 2 and verse 15, where the Apostle Paul tells us, "Having disarmed the powers and authorities, Jesus made a public spectacle of the forces of evil, triumphing over them by the cross." Jesus stripped Satan of every weapon and tool. He is holding him and his minions on a short leash until the final judgment. And on that day, the great day, Jesus will cast Satan into a lake of fire from which the devil will never return. Evil will have its day and appear to have the sway, but God will have His say and ultimately win the day. So be alert to the devil, but don't be intimidated by him. Learn to recognize his stench. The story is told that when General George Patton counterattacked Field Marshal Rommel during World War II, he shouted in the thick of the battle, "I read your book, Rommel, I read your book." Patton had studied Rommel's infantry attacks, knew the German leader's strategy, and planned his moves accordingly. We can do the same when it comes to our enemy. Satan comes to steal and kill and destroy. So wherever you see robberies and death and destruction, you know to turn to God in prayer. His name means divider. So wherever you see divorce and rejection and isolation, go immediately to Scripture. Stand on the promises of God regarding Satan and remind the devil of the promise that he is loath to hear. The God who brings peace will soon defeat Satan and give you power over him. And remember that while you are on this earth, you are in a battle. So put on your armor. Find your unshakable hope in the promise from God that the devil's days are numbered. God has already won, so don't give the devil more than a passing glance.